Welcome to the Financial Rebellion Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Romer. We started this podcast for two specific reasons. Number one, we've been helping thousands of people across the country through the speaking tour and the Financial Rebellion newsletter, how to rebel against traditional financial norms that are not working. We teach money way differently, how to dream differently, how to overcome limiting beliefs about yourself and money, how to save and spend money differently to create less stress and increase that control that you desire. And we teach how to create significant wealth over time by learning more about investing and so much more. Some of our guests come on and show you what their side hustle is about, how they're creating additional income, and even turning those side hustles into legit businesses. And we have other expert guests that are teaching money the Financial Rebellion way, like we do too. The second reason we started the podcast is we're big fans of credit unions. And there are millions of people across the country that are still unsure about what the difference between a credit union and a bank actually is. Well, when you actually manage and do money the Financial Rebellion way, it lines up beautifully with being a member of a credit union. Now, let's get into this episode of Financial Rebellion. Welcome to this episode of Financial Rebellion. This might be, I like to rank podcasts sometimes, but it's really hard with all the great guests that we've had on. So there's nobody that's like number 10 out of 10 or somebody that's 20 out of 50 or 1 out of 50. But this is different because I've got a flyer, a UD flyer on. That's where I went to college and graduated, University of Dayton. So Brayden Shepard is going to be our guest, and he's got a really cool business that he started. We're going to learn about his journey. He's 1 year graduated from University of Dayton. But before I welcome you, Brayden, to the podcast, I want to share some literally the mission. A lot of people are getting pretty fired up, and we're so honored to have this. Financial Rebellion is out. Our mission is out to help 18 to 34-year-olds. That's our wheelhouse, but we're helping people even older rebel against traditional financial norms that are not working. We have content from a newsletter to podcast to social media and an upcoming book this fall called Financial Rebellion that's going to help thousands of more people. We've got our speaking tour that's been out for several years, and that's still going. But we're out to help people reduce financial stress, increase financial confidence, and create significant wealth over time to break family financial trees and just learn what the wealthy do, kind of unveil some of the secrets, if you will, of what enables people to break through the wall of saying, wait, I can have a life that's different by being financially rebellious. So, but let's welcome Brayden Shepard to the podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Todd. I want to say first and foremost, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to diving in and talking about financial rebellion. And I also want to say I love what you're doing with this. Making money, especially making a lot of money, it seems like such a high wall when you're young. And being able to bring people on and have simplistic conversations to kind of go over ways they can start generating financial wealth. I think what you're doing here is fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to today.
Brayden, thank you for that. That's very kind of you. We're out to really make impact amongst tens of thousands of more people. And as you may notice, this is the first time I'm a little casual today. I have my kind of a new merch, Financial Rebellion merch. I've got a sun shirt on, and I have to be just frank. Let's shout out Phil Monroe out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He owns a print shop, and we've got hats and shirts, and then this sun shirt, it's one of the most comfortable shirts I probably have ever worn. And anyway, that's my quick selfish shout out of our merch. But before we get into your business, Brayden, we always do this with all of our guests so that people can kind of go, man, okay, I relate to Brayden there. Or we've had so many shared. What's your best and worst money move that you've made in the last few years or as recent as yesterday?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and I'll start off with my worst. This all surrounds the blockchain. I had a buddy who got pretty heavily involved with like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it was February of last year of 2025. And he came to me and was like, dude, Bitcoin's about to go through the roof. There's never been a down February on an odd year. At that point, I should have already seen what was coming. But he convinced me. We put some money in and lost way more than I was comfortable losing. So that was very unfortunate. And my best money move, this one's tailored towards my business, is just shooting for the moon on grant opportunities. Um, we won a couple grants in the past that you never could imagine a 22-year-old to win. But we applied, did our best, and we actually got them, which really kicked off our business. So I'd say that's probably my best money move.
I love your worst money move, not because you lost money on Bitcoin, but my question is, did you sell it or you still hold it?
No, we sold it. We lost it all. We just sold it because since we leveraged, we were gonna lose substantially more money than we'd put in. So instantly sold that
Right.
off. I do still own some Bitcoin, but that's irrelevant to the big money loss there.
Yeah. Well, this is an aside, but we obviously teach money the financial rebellious way, and we cover investing a lot. So if you subscribe to our newsletter, which you said you're going to now,
Hmm.
you're going to learn how to do investing in a way that you're going to have very little stress. And
I like that. It's a
but
lot better.
anyway, we're having a lot of fun. We're going to have guests on that talk about money and investing and all kinds of things. But this one is about people listening to this podcast are trying to figure out, man, do I have a side hustle worth talking about? Should I pursue
Hmm.
this? Should I pursue a small business that have an idea? We all have ideas. And you're 22. You're a recent graduate. You graduated from University of Dayton last year in 2025, and now you started a company called Saturn Sports.
Yep.
And walk us. Where did you grow up? Why did
Hmm.
you go to University of Dayton, and then what got you into an entrepreneurial mind before I ask more
Yeah.
about Saturn Sports?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in my very young years, up until about 5 or 6 years old, in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And then my parents moved us out to Cincinnati, Ohio. And when I was about 8 or 9 years old, me and the neighborhood kids, this is kind of my start to my entrepreneur journey. We started a company called BAMS. It was all our first names: Brayden, Alex, Matt, Steve. And what we do is we do all the like neighborhood hustles. We would sell lemonade. We made bracelets. We made keychains. That's kind of where everything started from. And from that day forward, I feel like I've always been very entrepreneurial focused and trying to do things for my own rather than doing it for others. Right?
BAMs. That is a
Bangs.
fun story. Getting your neighborhood friends, your neighborhood posse together, your buddies, and starting something. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it, and that is such a common thread, it seems like, with people who have started businesses that, it could be whoever started Starbucks to, you just name the company,
Mm-hmm.
you go back to their childhood and there's something there that they either sold lemonade or cut grass and had their own, whatever. That's cool. That's
Exactly.
really, really great. Okay. So then you get to UD,
Mm-hmm.
and did you major in
Yeah.
business? I know
Well,
they've got a
so
great entrepreneurship center there. So keep going with that journey when you got to UD.
yeah, so I got to UD 2021, and I entered as a finance major. And I don't know. I wasn't thinking too straight when I enrolled at UD. I didn't pick any of my own classes. I don't know how that necessarily happened, but I got assigned these classes for my first semester freshman year at UD. Most of them were tailored towards finance, and very quickly I found out I did not enjoy it in the slightest. Um, I just didn't have a ton of fun. And so my freshman year, I transitioned into an entrepreneurship major. The entrepreneurship program at the University of Dayton was absolutely fantastic. The professors to the resources available will build you into an entrepreneur if that's what you really want to do. Um, and so then kind of stepping through my 4 years of the entrepreneurship program, starting off with sophomore year was our first taste of running a business. You would build small groups, about 4 to 5 people, and then the school would loan you a $5,000 loan. And you were tasked to go start a tangible product based business. And we started a company called UD Street Signs. If you're not familiar with the University of Dayton campus, we have a very tight knit neighborhood community. So everyone lives on a specific road. I can guarantee you remember the road you lived
Wait,
on.
well, hold on. We got to stop you there.
Go too
You know, we're
far.
not allowed to. it's so funny that I'm going to say because I'm an alumni, and now you can because I'm going to say what it is. It's the ghetto, the
You got it.
community
Yeah.
of students, and they don't
Mm.
like us to say ghetto, and
Yeah.
nothing. We don't say it in a disparaging way or term. It's just a community called the ghetto, but it's the student housing community for those who don't know University of Dayton, and it's a very popular one. So continue, please.
Yeah, exactly. And so everyone gets really prideful of what street they live on, whether there's some parties on that street or nonetheless. And so what we did is we went out and created physical metal street signs with the name of street students lived on. And we also created laptop stickers and a couple other accessories that they could use to just represent their university as well as where they lived on that university. And so that was my first taste of a bit of a larger scale entrepreneurial journey, or at least a project. And it was a blast. It was so much fun. I mean, we were basically doing door to door sales. It was fantastic.
Okay, Braden, this is really fun. We lived on Key Favor 3 straight years, sophomore, junior, and senior year. And one of my close friends' group text to this day is called Key Favor.
Either that's
You
we lived
that's
on
awesome what
Irving.
you're doing there. So that's how your journey started. And then I got to share this very quick story because you're now blossoming back to entrepreneurship myself. A few of my roommates, Ken Cruiser Fedor, we call him Cruiser still to this day, Marty Grunder, Greg Leneve, Kevin Madigan, and others. We sold Bart Simpson T-shirts back in the day when that show was The Simpsons was super popular. I funded it with my lawn mowing money. Cruiser, Ken, was the artist and designer. He designed the T-shirt, and we went around and sold these T-shirts and made like $4,000. So
Exactly.
that was our story, UD. Keep going to where you now. Take us to where you're now with Saturn Sports.
Yeah, so Saturn Sports actually started my senior year in the entrepreneurship program at the university. We were part of a program called the Flyer Nest program. And what that does is it preps for you to apply to a state grant called the Technology Validation Startup Fund. And so what we were tasked to do is we find a big problem. So what we found is helmets in all sort of scenarios are coming off far too often. And one of the largest reasons they were coming off was because of their chin strap. So you found your problem, and then now you need to find a piece of patented technology that is available for licensing. So in our case, we went and licensed a patent from the Army that covered material closures, and it would acknowledge whether it was fully secured or not secured. And then with that, you apply to this technology validation startup fund. It's a $200,000 grant, all focused on the development and commercialization of an institutionalized technology. So going through this class, me and my business partner Hank Wieneman, we found this crazy idea. How do we fix this problem? And we slowly built up a business plan through that senior year. Come February of senior year, we applied. We actually applied for the state grant. Unfortunately, we didn't get it, which it happens. And so we kind of thought, well, is this something we're actually going to be able to take on, or is this something we need to take a step back of? And Hank and I, we put our heads together. We were like, no, we can do this. We were very excited about the idea. This is something that we've always dreamed about doing, and we knew we both had the drive to do it. And so we kept going. A couple months later, around March, we were a part of this competition called the Flyer Pitch Competition. It's a pitch competition for local Dayton community businesses as well as student-run businesses, and we were part of the tech track, and we ended up taking first place as well as the largest prize in flyer pitch history of about $76,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
Congrats. That's big time. All right.
it was.
Keep going. That's a great story.
Yeah, that was huge, and that's where me and Hank, I can remember the surreal feeling of getting a big check and being like, dude, we actually have the opportunity to do this. Uh, we were so stoked, and then with that momentum, the wind in our sails, we just started grinding. We really started pushing forward. We filed for a provisional patent. We worked with the engineering senior capstone course, and they helped us develop a very early stage prototype. And then we built an advisory board and redid our TVSF application. The second time around, of course, we were much more confident. After not getting the TVSF the first time, we did have a debrief pitch and really went over some of the key points that we needed to focus on as we actually begin growing this business. We applied for it just in the summer, maybe May, and actually received the TVSF grant, which is a $200,000 grant, August of 2025.
Man. Okay, you are rolling.
Mhm,
Okay, let's get more into the actual product, the chin strap. You shared with me off camera prior to this, and you said, "Yeah, I want to be on."
mhm,
You said, and correct me if I'm wrong. Rydell is one of the biggest helmet manufacturers, right, for football
correct.
players and other sports, but that
Mhm.
they were kind of going down this road as well. Like you were kind of like a little
They were
concerned,
y
like the big
so
boys were doing something. So share more about the Rydell story and where you're at with that now.
Yeah, so first and foremost, a little explanation about what exactly it is Saturn Sports is doing.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
focusing on chin strap fit. As I mentioned earlier, too many people aren't wearing their chin straps properly and wearing it loose, which doesn't allow the helmet to do its job. And so we were focused on football. And as you can see, watching the NFL, helmets are coming off nonstop. So we wanted to put in a piece of technology that would send to the sideline whether or not any amount of players had their chin straps fully secured. And unfortunately, we ran into a huge problem, which is what you were just mentioning with Rydell. Rydell implemented this system called the Insight Analytical System. What it did is it read impact data on the field and would send that to the sideline. The Denver Broncos outfitted every high school in Colorado with this technology in their helmets. However, there was massive blowback purely because there was a massive liability issue being created, saying that if a coach could on the sideline read whether or not a player took a concussive hit, if he came off the field and the screen says a concussive hit, and the team doctor is like, he's fine, like there's really no signs of a concussion, and the coach sends him back on. 3 weeks later, if that kid ends up with a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, then that coach is then liable. And so we felt at this stage in which the football industry is in, we don't believe it's quite ready for this type of technology to be implemented. And so that's kind of something we're really playing around with and questioning what the next best thing to do is.
yeah. That's yeah, no question. Liability is a big deal. CYA, it's certainly a big reason to kind of halt that. So, didn't you now kind of pivot to another market with your chin strap technology?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we're kind of playing around with the idea of shooting for the motorcycle helmet market. Um, if some people may be aware, others may not, but in the United States, you're not required to wear a motorcycle helmet. In maybe about 18 of the 50 states. Others, if you're above the age of 25, you don't have to wear a helmet, which is a very odd thing because you'd think on a motorcycle, your helmet is the only thing protecting your head from skull fractures, road rash on the face, X, Y, and Z. And the same problem of people not wearing their chin straps persist. On a global scale, me and my business partner found that around 440,000 casualties per year could be linked to the misuse of a chin strap. So that means that the helmet is either coming off and they're taking terrible blows to the head, or the helmet stays on but can't do its job because it's loose, it twists, it can break necks, etc. And so this is a very viable option for us to enter. It's a massive global market. When looking at the football market, it's only the United States. Now we're looking at tens, if not hundreds of millions of riders across the globe. Massive market, same problem persists, and there's a multitude of different companies trying to implement helmet technology in, which kind of provides us a runway to successfully enter the market.
We got Brayden Shepard on, former Dayton Flyer, who just graduated a year ago on the Financial Rebellion podcast, and like to do a shout out. We were big fans. Before I ask you another question, we're big fans of
Mhm.
credit unions, and I've been working with credit unions to help people become financially rebellious and kind of wonder, hey, why am I with a traditional bank? And I just want to do some quick shout out for the Dayton area credit unions that we know, from Right Pack Credit Union, Universal One, Abbey Credit Union, and Day Air Credit Union, all great viable places to do banking the financial rebellion way. Brayden, okay, so really then you're looking at your chin strap to be the key component of maybe future motorcycle helmets, or it can be switched out with current helmets. Your strap, your chin strap. Speak to that a little bit.
So we're looking into our initial thought process is to look into a direct integration with a helmet OEM, which is an original equipment manufacturer. What we want to
Okay.
do is initially we're going to create a device that can be easily integrated into their specific helmet. So one large company's name is Shoei. We want to be able to create a prototype, take it to Shohei and demonstrate what our product can do, and then outline exactly how we can implement this into their product as well as their manufacturing. That's our initial thought process for how this device is going to get adopted.
Okay. Gotcha. And I'm just asking a layman's question here. Um, what do you say as you're selling to this helmet manufacturer? What are the two quick reasons why your chin strap differentiates from the chin strap that they're currently using?
Ours puts more pressure on the user to ensure their helmet is tighter, which prevents liability allegations tailored towards the helmet manufacturers. They often are getting sued because the helmet may come off, whether that's because the chin strap breaks or because it's not properly worn is often hard to tell. More often than not, it ends up in settlements out of court. Additionally, there's a massive insurance incentive theoretically behind this. That if they can prove that I'm wearing my helmet properly, that saves money on liability insurance. That also would save money for the actual user themselves if they can keep track of whether or not they're wearing their helmet properly. Those are two very large points that we think are going to help bolster our adoption rate.
Would get my attention if I'm in that world, right? That's okay. You did a great job, by the way. It's like you're in an elevator. I was just in an elevator with you, and maybe a potential investor, and you got my attention. So at
But thank
22
you.
years old, Braden, you're helping people listening and watching of just how the power of communication. Great, strictly to the point, and boom, you got my attention. So good on you. What have you learned, Braden? You and Hank. How about Hank's your partner, but in the business. But Braden, speak to you. What have you learned about yourself the last few years, taking on this initiative as an entrepreneur that you're like, wow, I didn't know I maybe had this in me.
You
What have you
know,
learned about yourself?
yeah, this might be a little cliche and not necessarily like towards any financial resources, but I've found a new love for learning. Being an entrepreneur, one thing you're never going to stop doing is learning. You don't know how to do everything you need to know how to do when you start a company. And so, since the inception of our company, I have not stopped researching, learning. I've really taken to reading a lot more books, and I'm really enjoying it. It's hard after you finish college, and that's 16 years of school, and you're like, man, I never have to learn again. But being an entrepreneur presents me an opportunity to learn what I want to learn, and it's something that I'm really, really enjoying. I take pride in what I can learn and what I'm reading. So that's probably that's probably been the most insightful thing I've learned about myself in this journey.
Love that response. I've not heard that response yet from
Mhm.
anybody as what you've learned about yourself. And I was driving on the highway the other day, or the local road, and I saw at a stop sign, and it was a like a service truck, and it said, "quote People want the money, but don't want to do the work."
Mhm.
And I'm like, isn't that the truth? So what you're doing is you're doing the quote work with learning, reading, trying to get more information, which a lot of times people read and it feels like work, right? For some people,
Mhm.
now you've kind of said, well, this doesn't feel like work. I'm learning and I'm excited about it. So I love that response. It's going to take you very far, a lot of places with that.
100%.
And
Yeah.
Braden, as you maybe know, but I'm going to encourage you with this, as I do with a lot of people, because I've been there, done that. It's different if, man, I've never been in your place, but I've been in your place as a young entrepreneur that has gone through hills and valleys, and I too have learned things about myself, and I continue to learn things that I didn't know I had that in me, or man, you're not really good at that. You need to let someone else do that. So that kind of
Mhm.
stuff too, right? And so, what do you do when fear and doubt comes in about your business, maybe quote making it? How do you deal with the natural fear and doubt that comes in from time to time?
I think sometimes you kind of have to accept the fear and doubt, and I think it's important that you do feel fear and doubt when starting a business. One of the biggest things is you don't know whether or not your business is going to be great until it is. And, that just generates, you're always in fear and doubt. But I think if you just accept it and tell yourself, I'm working as hard as possible to make sure that all this fear and doubt I'm feeling pays off at the end when my company is successful, or at least when I feel like I've made great changes to what I'm trying to do. So I don't think those are necessarily a bad thing. I think they're important to have in the startup culture. And I think it's really important to face those head on, face those fears head on, and work as hard as you can to overcome those fears.
The myth that people believe when they start a side hustle or start a business, right, is that, oh, I'm going to be able to do this without having any fear. It's just impossible. It's not
So,
even humanly. It's nobody on the in the
right.
since the beginning of time has not had fear and doubt about something an idea they have. So, but it's how much you let that impact you, right? So, and
Hmm.
I've always shared with people, and I still learn and try and do what I say. I don't do it perfectly, but I got to take action. When the fear and doubt comes in, I have to take action. If I have a new idea, I need to get up and start talking to people or get out. I just got to do something, make a phone call, send an email, whatever, just to get this stuff out of the head. So,
Hmm.
okay, we're almost to the end here. What would you tell someone listening and watching who, again, is on the fence? Like they've got a side hustle idea that they don't have to go straight into starting. Hey, Brayden and Hank started, a chin strap product. That sounds
Hmm.
big deal. But what about the person who's got a side hustle idea or just an idea to kind of maybe I can earn a few $100 every month, but they're afraid to take that risk? What would you tell someone who's listening
You,
on that?
yeah, especially if this is someone kind of in that age range of 18 to 24 or 25 years old. I think you 100% should do it. This is the best time in your life to really work as hard as possible. That's kind of my viewpoint. I'm 22 years old. I'm not married. I don't have a kid. I have as much time in the world to make my dreams a success as I can right now. I believe the older you get, the more responsibilities you're going to continue to build up. And so, no, while you're young, while you have the opportunity to take risks, I think you absolutely should be taking those risks. And don't fear, or excuse me, don't fear failure. You will run into it nonstop, but it's just going to or it's just going to force you to continue pressing on. To make your dreams work, you should be willing to do whatever you will or need to do.
It's great advice.
Mhm.
Failure has been so misconstrued in our world as being bad when it's actually fantastic. The more you fail, that means you're doing something right. So the goal
Exactly.
is to kind of fail. That means you're getting to the success, right? And it's so
Yeah, and
backward,
you always
unfortunately.
learn. You always learn. Failure just breeds new opportunities, so you're always learning. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. Well, Brayden Shepard, thank you for being on the Financial Rebellion podcast. You were fantastic. We're stacking guests. I tell you, we are now even getting. We've only been doing this for about a few months, and we're getting outside emails from PR specialists like, "Hey, have this person on." So that's really been what an
Mhm.
honor and a blessing that's becoming very yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Yeah, it's
you
fantastic.
definitely have something going and inspiring people who are listening. So
Mhm.
again, as we end this Financial Rebellion podcast, for those who don't know much about what we're doing, visit financial-rebellion.com so that you can subscribe to our free weekly email newsletter called Financial Rebellion. It is anything but a typical newsletter, that's for sure. And again, we're big fans of the credit union world, $2.3 trillion industry, and a lot of people around the country, 18 to 34, still have no idea what a credit union is versus a bank. And so we just want to encourage you to, if you live in the greater Dayton area, check out some of the local credit unions to help you become financially rebellious. From Right Pat, Day Air, Abbey, and Universal One are some of my favorites in Dayton. All right, Braden, any last words before we part?
I just want to say thank you again for having me on. I really appreciate this opportunity, and I really love what you're doing. I think a lot of this information is great things for young entrepreneurs or just young people in general to hear and learn. So keep going, and this is fantastic. I love this.
Thank you, Braden. And I did forgot to ask you, where could people learn more about you and Saturn Sports? Any social media
Saturn
handles or website?
Sports. We do SaturnSportsLLC.com as well as the HelmetSafetyProject.com. Two websites that kind of go over a lot of what we're doing here at Saturn. I'd really appreciate you guys checking that out.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Financial Rebellion, and we'll see you on the next one very soon.
Thank you.